Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd of Bishop's RV back home at my Coldwater, Michigan RV Superstore with an RV that I've had on this channel for many, many years, and frankly, it just continues to get better. This thing right here is a very classic private bunk room. There's tons of half-ton towable travel trailers out there with like the corner double over double bunks, but the kids are all kind of in the living room, and if you pull the curtains on those corner bunks, the bottom bunk gets like no air conditioning, and if the kids don't sleep good, you are not going to have a good day tomorrow. That's kind of what's nice about this one. You can literally just be like, kids, go to your room. They have their own private room in the back that benefits, every bunk benefits from that 15,000 BTU centralized air. These are available with 50 amp service. They are available with a second air conditioner. They do have a heated enclosed belly, a reasonable extended season RV, but I respect the fact that Coachmen doesn't try to broadcast these cockamamie 4 seasons claims on an RV that is not made for that. They're very real about this. Coachmen is also essentially the original user of Azdel composite materials in the RV industry, and they were doing it way before people knew what it was or what it was cool, and they were, as far as I know, the first camper brand in this class to go double Azdel, so Azdel on the inside and outside layers of the walls. They were also one of the first lighter weight brands to build a full-size camper. So what I mean by that, by going with like the Azdel materials and a lot of aluminum framework, they were able to keep the weight of the RV down and then expand the size of the RV. Like, this is a 6'9" tall ceiling. It's 3 inches taller than industry standard. A full depth rack and pinion carpetless floor flush super slide. But what I do appreciate also is they did recently bulk up the axles on this. So that does mean that it's pushing a lot of half-ton towability. It'd probably be a better recommendation for a 3/4 ton tower. But as a result, this thing has something like nearly 3,000 pounds of cargo capacity right now, which is a really good indicator that you have better structural integrity on this RV. You know, if you're not overloading everything, it's more likely to hold together. But I've talked enough. Let's get in there. And if you appreciate what we're doing with the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between, hit that subscribe button, because this one's a lot of fun. Now, if you've watched this channel for years, you know that I've long personally had a very high regard for Freedom Express RVs. I think that they are a brand the marketplace as a whole sleeps on. And I'm not saying they're perfect and you should never consider anything else. I'm not foolish like that. What I'm saying is, this is an awesome brand of campers that actually has shaped and influenced so much of the RV industry today, and you probably never realized it. But the last couple years, they got kind of stagnant, and they made some interesting design choices, and sometimes they just did absolutely nothing from year to year and didn't update and upgrade and evolve, and they sort of slipped off the radar a little bit, and I feel like they are back, baby. Personally, I like this decor. Now, it's definitely HOA brown on brown on brown. Mr. Brownstone paid a visit to this decor, which is a bit of a joke. Anyway, but it is on the slightly lighter side of the brown tones. Now, the thing is, it's the kind of decor that it might look a little blah on camera right here, but if you possibly can, imagine bringing in like a couple blankets or pillows of some kind of color just to pop it up a little bit, and you can make this decor speak to you very quickly. And they do technically have some two-tone woodwork going on, but in a very easy fashion. Like, you might notice the slide fascia is a little bit lighter, but for the most part, it's pretty much one wood tone. And I think that it gives it that light feel and some consistency. Now, every RV has things that it does well, things that it doesn't do well. This RV certainly has some things I could see somebody go, nope, I don't like it because of that. Like the windows, it doesn't have a lot of campside windows, and the entry door is actually the culprit for it, because we're standing in the entry door. So people go, well, why don't they flip it? You can't. You see how the slide out fascia is directly in front of us? It would overlap. The stuff in that slide out does not fit on the campside of the RV, unless they made it 2 or 3 foot longer. That adds a lot of weight and a lot of cost. A couple things, though. They were one of the earliest adopters of carpetless, ventless flooring for pet-friendly functions. And if you notice, they were they weren't the first, but they were on the leading cusp of brands that adopted the carpetless slide systems. That's actually a marine woven slide floor. But little details, too, for pet-friendly factors, like the the cabinet door handles are pet collar friendly. So if you do have a four-legged furry friend running around, their collars don't get hung up on those things. The other thing is, as a person who is in and out of thousands of RVs every single year, folks, I can't tell you how many times I have gouged up and banged up my legs and my shins and my calves and stuff. Having cabinet door handles that don't bite me, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that quite a bit. Now, you have several sofa options over here. I think a jackknife sofa is the default. Hide-to-bed sleeper sofa, obviously a tri-fold sofa over here is an available option, which can be nice on a rainy day. The kids will tend to kind of go back to their room or maybe occupy the dinette. It's nice to give you a place to kick your feet up. We'll get to the entertainment in a minute. This is also what I call a true U dinette. Before we get that, though, I want to point out the fact that you have the big airflow windows all throughout the slide out. They're not trying to go cheap and only do like one window or no windows. And they have adopted just standardized the blackout roller shades. And I prefer how those are slow rise so the kids don't grab them because they go like against the sidewall. You know what I mean? But down here, this is a new dining table setup that they have that I haven't used it personally yet, but conceptually, I like this because it's going to provide Johnny Longlegs like me far more legroom around that single centralized, really heavy-duty pedestal post. It's also very sturdy. So like if you belly bump it or something, or the kids blast into it, your stuff on the table doesn't go flying. But also, it's just kind of easier. You might notice you've got a couple different handles down here. So the one directly in front of us on the kind of forward right side of the frame, you pull and hold that, and then you just push down or pull up on the table to raise or lower it. You don't have to fight pedestal legs or elliptical legs anymore. But the table also has a second thing where the table can slide back and forth. So if you're a little bit bigger in the midsection like me, you can kind of cheat the table over toward the kids, which I think is sort of cool. We're going to come back and look at all the storage functions on this in just a minute. Like a lot of brands, they've adopted these Tron lightsaber lights. Initially, I thought they looked cool. I'm kind of becoming very neutral on them very quickly. I don't know that I care. I don't have a problem with them. I just don't know that I care. But they are dimmable. The lights in the bedroom also are dimmable. Now, with a taller ceiling, they've created the opportunity to have taller cabinets right here. But with an 1.5-inch laminated sidewall, they can't really put power outlets down where we like them. So we do have outlets under the overhead cabinets. Not my favorite, but what are you going to do? This is also an easy thing to miss. There's more counter space here than you might initially think. Because if you notice how deep it is behind the sink and the stove, it's not a small sink and stove. They pulled those out to give you some like appliance space back here. As far as I know, these do come with sink covers. However, I want you, if that's important to you, to verify that with our local team members because I haven't actually located the sink covers in this camper. I don't know if they were just misplaced or what might be the case right there. But hey, there we go. This is potentially deal breaker number one right here for folks. The orientation of the entertainment center, it's very classic. It's a 90-degree entertainment center. This floor plan, although it does have a lot of nice upscale features, it is generally focused on spending people-to-people camp time. It's not prioritizing the entertainment center for daily use in a family camper. They have other floor plans to do that. This just isn't one of them. It might look a little funny to you because this is a classic, what I call 360 entertainment center. It can actually spin to the bedroom and then spin back around again. I'll demo that for you a little bit later. Little details that are easy to miss if you've never camped. I love what I call the clutter cutter shoe garage. The flip-flop shop down there by the floor, right by the entry door. It takes so much annoying clutter out of the RV. It is absolutely awesome in that regard, especially in a bunkhouse with a lot of kids, a lot of shoes. Personally, when it comes to theater seats, I prefer the kind that have where the center armrest folds down so that if you want to get it out of the way, you can. And you might look at this, and I'm not arguing. I'm not trying to change your mind. You might look at it and say, I don't like the angle on the entertainment center. I can respect that. It's not necessarily ideal. I think you can sort of cheat it depending on where you're sitting a little bit by turning the TV, but because the TV is mounted in a spinning box that is fully framed out, you if you spin it too far, it can kind of lose the edge of it. What I think would be a very easy fix and workaround, that's a flat TV mount. If that was also a pivoting swing arm between the TV spin and a swing arm, I think you could actually have a pretty decent entertainment center, but that's not the default on this camper. And I hope you appreciate that if something's awesome, I try to point it out. And if it's not awesome, I also try to point that out. I try to be very, very real about this, you know. A little bonus storage, because when it comes to storage, every ounce counts. And remember, this is deeper than you'd normally run into with a lot of stuff, which sounds like it'd make it difficult to access. But if you have some bigger pots and pans in there, the handles kind of make it easier to grab organically. I do kind of wish some of that shelf was cut back, though, to give me a spot for a trash can, which is something this RV currently does not have. One thing it does have, though, which is nerdism number 37, the utensil drawer. That's the... First of all, we have a normal kitchen drawer, obviously, on the right-hand side. But this is brilliant. It's a custom drawer that wraps around the kitchen sink, because normally directly under the kitchen sink, you don't have the opportunity to have a drawer because the sink is physically in the way. But if you notice, this kind of sneaks around it and is a segmented, fork, spoons, and knives drawer kind of thing. Now, that plastic insert is removable. So if you want to take it outside for picnic time or whatever, you can do that too. It's actually kind of handy. It's interesting to me. We have a taller ceiling, no shelving in the overhead cabinetry, but also that does mean that it's bigger for taller stuff. Like if you got a picture for some sun tea or something like that, you know. By the way, that is a standard 15,000 BTU air conditioner. These are available with 50 amp and second air. I think the one that we're in actually is 50 amp and second air prepped up in the bedroom. We'll verify that in a little bit. 10.2 cubic foot, 12 volt DC compressor fridge over here. Freedom Express was also one of the first companies to start offering that. And originally, I was very staunchly opposed to them until I learned more about them and actually used them myself, and later became a fan. And they asked the audience, do you like drawers? Do you like doors? What do you want? People said, we like full extension, easy access drawers below the dinette. And they went, fine, done. But also, what's kind of cool, they make the backside of the U-dinette easier to access. They create these little sliding panels that probably cost like nothing. And it just, you do have to kind of, I don't know, maybe hands and knees it under that table. I'm not saying it's the best, but it is still easier than having to tear apart the entire dinette just to get back there. Now, you might have noticed it suddenly got much darker in here. I thought I'd take a quick moment to demonstrate the dimmable lighting in this. Now, you don't have to have it all the way up or all the way down, but on camera, if I actively raise or lower the luminosity, as it were, it will cause flickering, and some people are very sensitive to that, and I don't want to cause anybody any like physical stress or trauma. So, but hey, that's an easy way I can show you that you do have dimmable lighting. Very classic bathroom design. First of all, over here, porcelain foot flush stool. It's a little tight on the right-hand elbow room if you're like me, and I will say, if you're a person of a little more stature, if you're a bit of a big booty Rudy or a big booty Judy, you might find this a little tight. It just kind of depends on you a little bit. You might have noticed I was playing with a couple little drop-down towel hooks right over here. This area feels a little blank to me, but I don't know necessarily what if this was your RV and you had a choice, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you do, if anything, in this little bathroom corner? I don't know. That is a full medicine cabinet, by the way, not just a mirror on the wall, Snow White style. And if you notice, that taller ceiling means like when I step up from the floor into the shower, I'm a little over 6 foot wearing some Hokas with some thick soles on them right here. I don't have to have my head in the shower. The only thing I can think of anytime I look at the shoes that I'm wearing now, because I got old enough that I'm like, I can't wear deck shoes anymore. I got to wear something with some real support. I always imagine that scene from Forrest Gump where he's sitting on the bench next to the lady and he's like, those are some nice shoes. I bet you could run all day and not feel a thing in those. That's what I feel like every time I put my shoes on, and they are fantastic. I'm not sponsored by Hokas. I've just used them and I like them. By the way, privacy curtain back here for the bunk, so you can kind of close this off. Not a hard door, just a curtain. Also, this is interesting to me. What would I think be the headboard for the bunks, which is actually the tail wall of the RV, has the same blackout roller shades you saw in the living room. They intentionally do not put big boxy window treatments on them so that kids don't accidentally rip them off the wall. And down here where the kids' legs could be, because some kids flail a lot at night. My nephew, my daughter, they flail all over at night, which is funny because they're actually really quiet during the day. So the snap-on window blackout shade is nice there. You might notice 300-pound capacity. And they have some kind of power solution for every bunk. It kind of varies a little bit. This used to be a quad bunk model, 4 bunks, and it has become a triple bunk because down here below this campsite bunk, we have a full-on camp kitchen. But that created the opportunity for a lot of extra storage. Now, I like to try to be fair. One of the things I don't like about this RV is the location of the converter fuse box. I don't like it in the bunk room for 2 reasons. 1, I don't want little kid hands getting curious and messing with it. 2, if you go to hit the super slide button and you pop a fuse, you're going to blow your fuse trying to get back here to this thing. It's not fun and it's not easy. I will show you the slides closed for road mode in a few minutes. In a pinch, if you have a smaller kid that you can trust with instructions, they could probably get back here to do that. It's not an ideal necessarily solution though. Again, I just try to be real about stuff, good, bad, or in between. TV hookup on the rear wall right there. Somebody actually asked me in one of my videos the other day, they left a comment, said, I don't understand. Are you trying to sell it or not trying to sell it? I'm confused. I'm like, I'm trying to be fair. I'm not trying to be exclusively bubblegum and rainbows about this thing. If it has a problem, I want to let you know. What we need sometimes is some vanilla ice, because if you got a problem, he'll solve it. So coming out of the bunk room looking forward, we've already kind of seen the rest of the living room here, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. But I do want to point out, again, we do have slide side breeze windows that do have the blackout roller shades. And a reminder, we have what I'm calling the 360 entertainment system. Never called it that before this video. It just felt right today. It leaves us a nice blank wall right here. So I'm going to leave it up to Cousin Garrett, the RV Nerd video editor. How would you, sir, decorate this wall? And remember, if you get me fired, you get you fired. So be smart about this. You may have also noticed the sliding pocket privacy doors. One of the things compared to previous years you haven't seen is like a stereo. You don't really see any of that. What you do have, like a lot of RVs now, is this Bluetooth system that if you want to connect to, you can. There you go. Working our way forward right here, they have done a lot of good things in this bedroom. I do want to mention, although it's kind of hard to showcase on camera since I'm not using a wide-angle lens, this is a 60 by 80 true queen bed. And I think that's especially important to mention because as I get up in here, you might notice how this mattress essentially goes all the way to the sliding door panels. So if this was a short queen and it did that, it would be a problem. You would never be able to put a bigger mattress in. But because it's not a short queen, it's kind of not an issue. They aren't offering a king option swaption currently, so kind of keep that in mind. They did recently redesign, I think a year ago, their headboard system to include some, you see these pockets back there. There are power outlets back there behind the hanging wardrobe towers. And when they did that, they also included the drawers at the bottom of that there. So you actually have, you'll see that both sides of the bed have 2 overhead cabinet doors, your side hanging wardrobes, and 2 dresser drawers, even though you've only seen 1 on each side so far. I do want to point out too, when they redesigned their front end profile, they blunted it a little bit, but what that made was some actually really useful storage up there. And notice how these things defy gravity. They're wicked. I wonder if anybody picks up that reference. Anyway, you get the idea. You don't have to juggle those stupid things open with your head. Now, you have these extra large drawers over here on each side of the bed. Instead of 2 small piddly ones, they put 1 big one on each side. But then you have another XL drawer down below. What's nice is although the bed is very easy to lift, you don't have to. And if this sounds very familiar to what you might have seen in some of our Wayfinder RVs, I'm not even going to lie about it. I'll tell you again about it on the outside of the RV. We borrowed. We stole it. We copied this from Freedom Express. They did some cool things, and we said, "Hey, we really like that. It's really cool." You notice how there's those slots under the dresser drawers, though? They actually are pass-through, so if you want to use those as shoe storage, you actually can. One other thing. Let me see if I can do this live on camera. Again, when you are up here in the bedroom, remember that TV can spin around. So if you don't care about daytime entertainment because you want to spend time with the kids, but you're looking for something to catch up on your, I don't know, what are you watching? What series, what show are you watching right now? It still gives you an easy opportunity to do that. And let me get this plastic out of the way. Remember, you do have the opportunity to outfit these with a second air up here in the bedroom. That's what that little sticker is telling us next to that vent. It's saying, hey, this one's got 50 amp. You want a second air? Go nuts, man. But you know, as awesome as it is, when you get there, when you're hanging out with your family, when you're doing all the fun things, it's extremely limited for traveling road mode. We can get to the front bedroom, but not the rear bunks. And before you say, yeah, but if I have one kid, couldn't I sleep them over there on the dinette? Especially since, you know, you already folded it down, Josh. My answer is you shouldn't, because this is a rack and pinion slide out. And as a result, basically, it's not recommended that you occupy this slide with people while it is retracted. Now, short of that, though, we can get to the refrigerator. It's a little tight, but you can get there, and you can get to the majority of the kitchen cabinetry. So if you stop someplace like a rest stop, you know, just along the highway, along an interstate where they have some bathrooms and maybe a couple tables, you could pull over, you could feed the family with some stuff out of the fridge real quick, and you could have a little snack-tastic travel stop. But to get to anything else, you really do need to open the slide. However, there is one handy benefit of this rack and pinion slide system that can potentially act as a little bit of a workaround, get out of jail free card. Rack and pinion slide systems don't get upset if you only open them halfway. So if you need to just crack the slide to get back there to pack stuff up in the bunk room and then, you know, get back out and finish closing the slide back up, you can do that. So if you appreciate all the extra info, like, you know, spent a minute and a half with you here in road mode, maybe you don't even care about this, I don't know, but trying to show you all the ins and outs, hit that subscribe button. Let's hop outdoors and let's talk towing. Now, as I mentioned when the video first began, I think they've bulked up on the axles on this one a little bit. Either that or I'm just remembering it incorrectly from last year. I feel like the GVW of this is now higher, which means the cargo capacity rating is higher. This model actually has gained a significant chunk of weight the last couple of years because they moved away from their laminated flooring. It wasn't common with Freedom Express, but they did have a few models that were like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that were developing some trampoline soft spots in the laminated flooring. They said, forget that. So they went to a 5/8 tongue groove plywood floor decking, kind of like some big luxury fifth wheels, so that they don't have to worry about that, which means you don't have to worry about that. So you can just camp happy, basically. Power tongue jack on the front. They go with 20-pound propane tanks, so they're like easier to exchange, especially on a Sunday. Some folks like, yeah, but I like 30s because they last longer. I get it. I fully respect. Maybe bring along an extra propane tank. And a lot of your Coachmen products do this. They tongue mount the spare tire. It provides some load equalization benefits, but one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that weight in front of the axle tows better than weight behind. And I apologize, man, the wind kind of picked up here. So if we're getting a little bit of wind on the microphone, I am sorry about that. All right, anyway, moving on. Let's take a look up front here. A couple things. Large front, full pass-through compartment, you know, side to side. First of all, you got this big long tube. Basically, they ship extra little pieces of like trim and molding and stuff. Hopefully you never need it, but if you do, it's there for a quick and easy fix. Up top in the ceiling section, they actually include a 2-foot by 4-foot picnic table. Freedom Express was a trendsetter in many ways, and a lot of RV brands do this, including some of our own Wayfinder RVs from Bish's. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of things on Freedom Express RVs that I like. So when Bish's RV asked me for input on some fun things to include on RVs, there's a lot of features and qualities of Freedom Express campers that I said we should target. The picnic table, the vaulted bed lift storage system, the 6'9" ceiling. A lot of those things were influenced by Freedom Express, even on our own Wayfinder RV. So I'm not going to be shy about it. I'm going to be real about it, just giving credit where it's due, essentially. They've got the larger folding entry steps. They have recently adopted the safety rail handle, the newer kind of handle style system right here. And as I mentioned when the video began, they were one of the Freedom Express Coachmen was the original adopter, essentially, of Azdel in the RV industry. If you don't know what Azdel is, it's a composite material substitute for wood Luan paneling in the sidewall lamination construction. It weighs significantly less. Azdel itself cannot rot, mold, or mildew. That doesn't mean this RV is waterproof, because you still have other things in it, but the sidewalls are not impossible, but very hard to force to laminate. You might notice the wide stance axles. These were catching on and very popular in the industry for a while, and they've kind of faded out from a lot of brands, and I don't know why. I really don't know why, because it is a very cost-effective way to make the RV handle better going down the road. RV delivery drivers, and that's not my opinion, RV delivery drivers have reported to me that wide stance axle RVs tend to buck and chuck and porpoise a lot less going down the road. It's kind of nice. Now, Freedom Express in the last couple of years has started adopting the tire pressure monitoring system. That's the blue box that you're looking at right there. But included with the camp kitchen kind of scenario, you've got the outdoor griddle that side mounts. And what that does is just leave this whole extra large camp kitchen space wide open. Now, you might notice the awning goes right up to it. The awning doesn't cover the camp kitchen because there's not enough room on the other side, but they do have, it's about 6.5 foot from flat ground, assuming the RV is level, under this overhead canopy. So basically you can still use this for, like, you know, patio covered cooking space, and a second copy of the utensil drawer wrapping around the sink. And it is a real sink. It's not a dog dish that you flip water on the ground. It's a real sink with a real drain into a holding tank. And that has become intensely rare in the RV industry. I've also got a little bit of that little spice box storage over here. Get that open for you. In case you're wondering, you might be going, what is that little cap right there? Basically, it's kind of like a breather so your plumbing system can essentially work properly. But TV hookups out here, galvanized rolled steel counters, so that if the door is open and you get a little bit of water spritzed in, it doesn't just rot itself to pieces, you know, good to go. Now down below, they have a full bumper. By default, you don't see a hitch, but you see that big orange sticker? There's these brackets that hang down below that bumper area, so that if you want to get one of those class 3 rear receiver hitches, it's literally a bolt-on that does not void your factory warranty because you're not actually modifying the chassis. So cool little thing they do there. Not everybody needs that bumper thing, but some people really do. Notice how they are including a ladder actually up to the roof, which is fully walkable. And you might notice the little silver solar panel peeking over the rooftop of this one right here. Just last I knew, it's been a little bit since I looked at the option sheet on one of these, so pardon me. Last I knew, that was still optional on Freedom Express, but it is something that we do like to put on these. Frankly, I think it should just become standard at some point. That's just my 2 cents. I really like, though, how the graphics crawl all the way over the slide side. It's just a nice, complete touch to me. And cool benefit on this one down here with, like, it's an all centralized hookup station. Your water, your electric, everything is here. What I like, though, is it's also a single sewer outlet. Kitchen, bathroom, everything all drains into one consolidated tank location. Little details like that are actually super, super handy, and they eliminate so much, I don't know, just inconvenience at your campsite. Sometimes I swear some RVs are built with an industry-leading inconvenience package. It's like, no, guys, that's not a feature. That's not a benefit. Anyway, up front, a couple little things. Battery disconnect. And people ask all the time in Facebook groups, they find these little yellow antennas and they're like, what is this thing? Is this like some FBI tracker? Yes. No, it's not. It's actually a, it's your relay for your tire pressure monitoring system. You ever see that movie American Beauty where the bag like dances for the guy? I feel like that's the ghost of Tina Turner rolling down the river over here. Total segue here. Tina Turner, one of those musical acts that when I was a younger boy, I just didn't appreciate, you know? As an adult, mad respect for Tina. Like, River Low, Mountain High, epic song. Anyway, up in the front passenger compartment, there's a new thing they've started doing right here where they have a little sliding panel that allows you to access your your solar controller rather. But I want to point out, this is a 30 amp MPPT charge controller. The reason I want to stress that is, one, you can hide it away from shifting cargo, but two, MPPT controllers are a more expensive variety and a better, more effective charging system. You can find a cheaper 30 amp charge controller of a PWM variety. Essentially, this is about 10% more efficient, and even with the same size solar panel on the roof, will just cause you to enjoy faster, more reliable recharging on those batteries compared to a less expensive basic charging system. The more you know. And is it me, or does it seem like these private quad bunk models, they've become harder to find? Although every day we have people calling our stores like asking us, do you have one with private bunks? But it's like the industry has decided that everything needs to be a double over double quarter bunkhouse or something like that. But I think there's still a lot of people who prefer the privacy. I don't know. Instead of me telling you, you tell me. What do you think? What do you think about the layout? Good, bad, ugly, and in between. I've tried to be fair with you. I'll leave you links to the video description. Double check pricing and availability. And if you like this, but you're like, yeah, but I don't need bunks, Freedom Express makes some absolutely awesome no bunk models. I'll try to remember to leave you a couple links for those in the description as well. So until next time, take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.